The Tikbalang, a creature of myth and might, stood at a crossroads. Half man, half horse, he was a creature of two worlds. He was on a quest, a journey to reclaim his stolen heritage. A shadow hung over him, a memory of betrayal and loss. He had faced many dangers, outwitted cunning foes. Yet, his true enemy remained hidden, lurking in the shadows. The Tikbalang remembered the whispers of the elders. They spoke of a powerful artifact, the scepter of Ulungan. It was said to hold the key to his past, to the truth of his lineage. The Tikbalang knew he had to find this artifact. His heart ached with a longing for answers, for a place to belong. He clutched the enchanted dagger, a gift from a grateful Dewata. Its blade hummed with a gentle energy, a beacon in the darkness. With each passing day, the Tikbalang grew stronger, more determined to fulfill his destiny. He would find the scepter of Ulungan, even if it meant facing his greatest fears. His journey led him to the Whispering Woods, a place of ancient magic and forgotten lore. Trees twisted and turned, their branches reaching out like grasping claws. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and unknown dangers. The Tikbalang's keen ears picked up the rustling of leaves, the snap of a twig. Something was watching him. He pressed on, his senses alert. The forest seemed to close in around him, the sunlight struggling to penetrate the dense canopy. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, whispering his name. The Tikbalang unsheathed his dagger, its blade glowing with a reassuring light. He knew the creatures of Philippine mythology. He had heard tales of the Kapre, the Aswang, the fearsome Tikbalang hunting Aswang. The Tikbalang had to be careful. These woods were old, steeped in a magic that could both help and harm. He remembered the words of the old Babelan he had met on his travels. "Trust your instincts," she had said, her voice raspy with age. "The spirits of the forest will guide you, if you let them." The Tikbalang took a deep breath, focusing his mind. He would need all his strength and cunning to survive the Whispering Woods. A high-pitched shriek pierced the air, sending a flock of startled birds into the sky. The Tikbalang froze, his hand tightening around the hilt of his dagger. The shriek came again, closer this time, filled with a mixture of pain and desperation. He followed the sound, pushing through a tangle of vines and thorns. In a small clearing he found her, a manananggal, her bat-like wings tangled in a hunter's net. Her eyes, wide with fear, met his. The manananggal, a creature known for preying on the living, looked surprisingly vulnerable. Her lower half, detached and grotesque, lay twitching on the ground. The Tikbalang approached cautiously, his dagger raised. He could sense no malice from her, only fear and pain. "Help me," she rasped, her voice hoarse. "I am not what they say, I only wanted to protect my young." The Tikbalang hesitated. Could he trust her? The Tikbalang stared at the trapped Manananggal. He had been raised on stories of her kind, creatures of darkness who preyed on the innocent. Yet, he saw no malice in her eyes, only fear and a mother's desperation. His heart, usually hardened by years of solitude and betrayal, softened. He knew what it was like to be judged based on appearances, to be feared for what he was, not who he was. He lowered his dagger, a decision made more from instinct than logic. "How can I trust you?" he asked, his voice low and gruff. The Manananggal, her chest heaving with each breath, looked at him with surprising sincerity. "I understand your hesitation," she croaked, "but I swear on the spirits of this forest I mean you no harm. Help me, and I will repay my debt. I have knowledge that can aid you in your quest." The Tikbalang felt a flicker of hope. Could this creature, this Manananggal, hold the key to finding the scepter of Ulungan? The Tikbalang, with a mix of caution and compassion, approached the Manananggal. He carefully cut the ropes of the net, freeing her powerful wings. She hissed in pain as she gathered her detached lower half, reattaching it with a sickening slurp. "You have shown me kindness," she rasped, her voice still weak, "a rarity among your kind." The Tikbalang met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "You promised information," he reminded her. "Information about the scepter of Ulungan." The Manananggal nodded, her eyes gleaming with a strange light. "I know where it lies," she said, her voice gaining strength. "But to reach it you must face a trial of courage, a test of your spirit." The Tikbalang felt a surge of anticipation mixed with dread. "What must I do?" he asked, his hand instinctively resting on the hilt of his dagger. The Manananggal pointed towards a swirling vortex of energy that had materialized behind her. It pulsed with an otherworldly light, beckoning and terrifying at the same time. "Enter the portal," she said, her voice echoing with an ancient power. "Face your fears, and you will find what you seek." The Tikbalang stared at the swirling portal, his heart pounding in his chest. Could he face this unknown, this test of his very being? The fate of his quest, his very identity, hung in the balance. Taking a deep breath, the Tikbalang stepped towards the swirling portal. The air crackled with energy, the scent of ozone filling his nostrils. He glanced back at the Manananggal, her eyes watching him intently. "What awaits me on the other side?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The Manananggal simply smiled, a chillingly knowing smile. "Only you can discover that," she replied, her voice echoing with an ancient power. "Trust your instincts, Tikbalang. Your destiny awaits." With a final nod, the Tikbalang turned and stepped into the swirling vortex. The world around him dissolved into a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. He felt a sense of weightlessness, of being untethered from reality. Then, everything went black. When the Tikbalang opened his eyes, he found himself in a vast, desolate plain. The sky above was a swirling mass of storm clouds, lightning flashing menacingly in the distance. The air was heavy with the scent of rain and decay. He stood up, his muscles aching as if he had been ridden hard for days. He was alone, the portal that had brought him here nowhere to be seen. As he took in his surroundings, he heard voices, whispers carried on the wind, fragments of conversations, snatches of laughter. They seemed to be coming from all around him, yet he couldn't pinpoint their source. He strained his ears, trying to make sense of the whispers. They were faint, like echoes of the past, but he could have sworn he recognized one of the voices. It was a voice filled with both warmth and sorrow, a voice that sent a shiver down his spine. The voice that the Tikbalang recognized from the whispers sent a jolt through him. It couldn't be, could it? It had been so long, so many seasons since he had heard that voice. It was a voice that haunted his dreams, a voice he longed to hear again. He followed the whispers, his hooves kicking up dust as he ran across the barren plain. The storm clouds above swirled closer, the air growing heavy with the threat of rain. As he ran, the whispers grew louder. He could hear the voice more clearly now, filled with a desperate urgency. It was calling his name, urging him forward. Then, through the swirling dust and mist, he saw it, a faint silhouette in the distance, a figure that made his heart skip a beat. The Tikbalang stood frozen, his breath catching in his throat. The silhouette in the distance, the voice calling his name. It couldn't be possible. Yet, a flicker of hope ignited within him, a hope he thought had long been extinguished. He had to know, had to see if his ears and his heart were not deceiving him. With renewed determination, he charged towards the figure, each step filled with a desperate yearning. The storm broke as he ran, rain lashing down upon him. But he didn't care. He had to reach the figure, had to know the truth. As he drew closer, the figure turned, revealing a face that sent a shockwave through the Tikbalang's very being. The world around him faded away, the storm, the desolate plain, all forgotten as he stared at the figure before him. A face from his past, a face he thought he would never see again. The Tikbalang's journey was far from over. In fact, it felt like it had only just begun.